Oops.
And welcome to another exciting adventure of Riding Through the Unknown. Thank you all for joining us on this special evening. It is a Friday night, and I am so excited to have this guest on. We are bringing you a topic that when I was talking to her, I was explaining I've wanted this topic on this show for 4 seasons now, and finally able to bring it to you all. So I hope you all are in for a galactic ride because this show promises not to disappoint. And I am going to hand it over to my amazing guest. She is on TikTok. She is well versed, well informed into what's going on. She's plugged in. I give you the one, the only, super galactic Sarah Starr official.
Oh my gosh. Listen to that intro. Wow. Pump me up a little more, won't you? Oh my gosh. No, seriously, thank you for having me. My name is Sarah Starr, as Michael said. So I'm a intuitive reader. I'm a multi-dimensional communicator. I'm a content creator. I do it kind of all for free. But my lane is really about connecting dots, about astrology, about space weather, about consciousness, disclosure timelines, and basically that translating what everybody is feeling and what they're experiencing into what we can navigate for real life, basically. So this is kind of how we are able to navigate the coming times, what's happening in the present moment specifically, especially with the space weather. That's a daily kind of transformation. But really, what I'm doing is I'm connecting to people who are very sensitive, or at least I'm finding people that are very sensitive, people who resonate with multidimensionality. So star seeds, light workers. These are people who have really felt different their whole entire life. Now they're moving through like this big awakening process. It comes in layers. They're experiencing these dark nights of the soul where they're having emotional regulation problems all of a sudden correlated with space weather. So they'll have vivid dreams. They'll have synchronicities. They'll have these sudden clarity moments, and these come in waves or like a strong pull of truth. But the goal really isn't to convince anyone of anything. It's really to help people discern and to stabilize themselves and just to remember who they are while the world around them changes so fast. So thank you for having me on. I'm super excited for today's topic. That's what we talk about every day. I love it.
Well, thank you, and I'm glad that we were able to connect and collaborate. And I want to start with the topic that we, were saying we were going to focus on because it is something I think that's important. but it's hard to find people who are well versed and can actually explain it. And in watching your TikTok videos, I felt like you were the best person to do this. And so I am curious how you got into watching the space weather and how you connected the dots to
Well,
how it impacts people.
it wasn't something that I kind of looked out for. It was something I knew existed on the back burner. Um, Before we started the show, I talked to you a little bit about my background. Um, I have a bachelor's in media communication and communication studies, TV broadcast, journalism, radio, all of that fun stuff. And one of the genres that I was looking towards was meteorology. And so I did extensive research on where these programs were located, what the education behind it was. And I looked at the curriculum ahead of time because you have to pay for college and I want to know what I'm paying for. So I looked at their curriculum and on there was space weather. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. But I realized that there was only such a little blank of time. So I did look into it while I was looking for that school. So I had a little bit of background knowledge prior. Well, 10 years later, after, graduating college, I head into space weather again. But at a very odd time in my life because it was right around the time I was having one of my first awakening moments and space weather just like laid right on top of my lap and I understood everything, all of the research that I went through. It was like remembering how it all worked. I was like, oh yeah, duh, this, that, and the other. Not saying remembering from the time I studied like during college, but remembering from like a past life. Like I worked with this energy. It was very familiar. It makes sense when you are talking about related to like cosmic webs outside of the cosmos and like galaxies and layers and constellations and different energetic patterns and stuff like that. So it felt really familiar to me, and I realized at that time that I was redeveloping again my psychic abilities because I was born with them, and one of them is feeling energy. I feel the energy of people around me. And I noticed that while I was studying space weather on my own, I was feeling the impacts of it. And then the more I dug into it, the more scientific I saw that it really, really, really correlates with each other. And nobody was talking about this except if you went into like the deep, dark secrets of conspiracy or the dark web, because this is how they control things around the world as well. So it's very interesting. All of these power dynamics come along with it. So discernment during this time is really prevalent because there are natural occurrences with space weather, and then there's these artificial programmed ones as well. So they have similar effects. But space weather just kind of clicked to me as like a soul language, you would say. But interesting how it all comes forward. And I'm glad that you're excited about the topic too. I've seen you've been following me for a couple of years and sharing all my information. I'm so grateful for that because people really, if you're sensitive, this is a good outlet to figure out what you're actually feeling and how to ground this out and play it day by day, because that's what we really need is a daily presence with this, daily grounding and gratitude.
Right. And when we're talking about space weather, we're talking about CMEs, solar flares, and pretty much everything that happens in the cosmos that we don't really hear about. And I find that so interesting that we focus so much on the weather here, but then if you say to somebody, oh, well, there's a storm in space, they're like, and? But then nobody ever thinks about, well, that weather has to go somewhere, so don't you want to know where it's going or
Right.
what it's doing?
Yeah. Well, I think that's the thing is nobody's educated on it. It's very unfamiliar territory to them. Even the people that they rely on their news and regular weather for, these people don't know it either. So tapping into space weather is like tapping into like how your daily life is going to be, especially if you're sensitive. But on top of that, there's other layers too. Like we were talking about astrology being on that, and then if you can dissect astrology going into like tropical and Vedic and different energetic lenses through that too. But when we talk about space weather, solar flares, this affects your nervous system. This affects your consciousness. So there's a grounded science layer to this because we know that space weather is basically the sun's activity that is interacting with Earth's magnetic environment. So when we have the sun burst these plasma ejectas, these CMEs out, this is electromagnetic radiation. So there we have classified strength flares. It's like a C class flare is the lowest one, and M class flare is like mid range, and then X class flare. Anything above like a 10 would be really exponential, which we're looking for. But X class flares have really big effects, and we've had a couple of them. We've had actually a lot of them, and huge geomagnetic storms on top of that due to the ejecta of all of this plasma. And each jump, each class that I was talking about, C, M, X class flares, that's a jump in power. So these CMEs that I was talking about, these are coronal mass ejections, and these are basically just giant explosions of plasma that the magnetic field gets bombarded by. So it will eject from the sun's corona, which is like the surface of the sun, and then it heads in cosmic web directions wherever these energy ley lines are. Sometimes they're Earth directed, sometimes they are not. Depends of where these sunspot regions are located. And then there's also little background effects like the Parker spiral, just where it falls in. You know, there's a lot of different effects. We can go in for days, honestly, talking about it. But it does have effects with solar winds as well. So solar wind environment, that energy couples with the Earth's magnetic field. And when that happens, those geomagnetic storms come in. And we've been seeing us get into G5 categories. That's extreme geomagnetic storms. We're getting auroras that are coming all the way down into Texas. So even like Alabama was having them. So low latitude, high latitude, we're all getting these auroras, not normal. I don't know about you, but I don't remember ever having the aurora in the sky when I was a kid, or anybody talking about seeing the northern lights ever, except for in polar regions. You know, you would see those. But not just the geomagnetic storms we're getting solar radiation storms too. This is like high proton levels that come out from the plasma. So sometimes you have like electrons, photons, protons, neutrons, all that fun stuff. But the protons are what cause the solar radiation storm. Those take the longest to get to Earth. Yeah, usually you'll get the photonic light from the flare first, and then the electrons will electrify the atmosphere, and then the protons come in, and that's when you really feel it on your body because protons hold mass. So you're physically going to feel this. So you're having geomagnetic storms, solar radiation storms, and radio blackouts on top of all of that. So the radio blackouts, they kind of come first. But if the Earth is already highly electrified by a geomagnetic storm or a coronal hole, those also cause geomagnetic storms. There's multiple layers in this, and people are starting to feel these active conditions. Some people barely notice them. Some people feel everything. I don't know about you, but I feel everything, and it's not a fun superpower, like at all. I don't know. Hard transitional periods.
I agree, and I'm kind of curious as, like you were saying, you know, I've been following you for a couple years now, and it seems to me like it's ramping up, and it's more frequent and more almost daily. Am I seeing it right, or is it just
No,
we're talking about it, and so it's now in the eye where before it wasn't, so it feels like it's more often.
Right. I know what you're saying. Like I said, I've been kind of tracking this since 2020 actively. And we are in a solar maximum period, which is like 11-year cycle, but there's a bigger cycle that's on top of that. So that's why this is really important, because we're in an age of disclosure where this solar maximum is one of the more potent ones that we're having. And like, we're having more of a weakened magnetic field as well. So that's why these are stronger effects. And when you have a weakened magnetic field, more of that cosmic radiation comes in, more of those light codes come in. They activate dormant DNA. Without, like, you know how you have a certain light spectrum? Well, this is what this radiation does. It's in an invisible light spectrum, but it's doing stuff, it's doing stuff. So they come in different waves. So there's like delta waves, there's theta waves, alpha waves, beta waves, gamma waves. So we're looking at least with Earth, having 7.83 hertz kind of Earth beat like heart. And that's linked to human consciousness as well. But that's like that theta wave. But what we're experiencing now with the solar flares is this gamma wave radiation. So we're looking at like 30 to 100 hertz. And these are like spikes. And you can track this through different modalities on the Schumann resonance as well. And this is linked to a lot of high level integrity and tension. So you're going to get these aha moments when we have higher solar radiation that comes in on these peak days. So you're not crazy. This is very new information. This is like new age information that even scientists, they don't even know what they're looking at wholeheartedly unless they see the whole picture. But what this does is, like, the theta states that we are constantly in, that's very dreamy, that's very emotionally processing kind of states of mind. This is where the subconscious is surfacing. But then we have those bursts of gamma, and that's the clarity, that's the pattern recognition, that's the sudden insights, like I said, the aha moments. And these come during different cycles. And this also has to do with astrology and moving through like those different energetic cycles. Like I said, I can feel energy. So there's different layers that are on top of this. So if you have wild dreams or old memories that are resurfacing, or random emotional detoxes, like you're crying and you're purging and you don't know why, or like you suddenly see something, like in one day, you're like very high clarity all of a sudden. So it's your system that is sensing these invisible outside energetic factors, and it's creating these stress points on your body inside of your nervous system. Because it's invisible doesn't mean that it's not affecting you, just because you can't see it, like Santa Claus, you can't see it. Is it there? Well, he's not. But there's layers. Like I said, there's physical recalibration layers, there's emotional purging layers, mental rewiring like phases, there's energetic sovereignty layers. I would say like that would be the ending point, when you get to a certain point where you have a clear intuition or stronger boundaries because of these little integration beats that you go through. But they come in phases of intensity, and that's not so fun. Like, at all. Not fun.
Right, and yeah, it does get taxing on the body. And with that in mind, we talk about how certain space weather can affect the nervous system.
Yeah.
And it also cause like blood sugar to go up and be like, and the stress levels to go up. And if so, what can people do that are sensitive to this to kind of pull it back and ride the wave, so to speak, easier?
Yeah, that's exactly something that we need to tackle as well, because we have to have a common antidote for what we're feeling, especially if nobody's on board with like cymatics yet. So the natural way that you can eliminate or lessen the symptoms of what you're experiencing is really connecting to nature, And also this has to do with each person individually. Like if you're looking at your chart and you notice that you have barely, let's say your chart has a lot of fire elemental modalities to it, and there's barely any earth, you physically need to go outside all of the time and start grounding yourself, because there's nothing there to ground yourself. So this does go individually, but just grounding yourself in general, because that is going to take that excess energy out into your meridian points. You can either touch a tree, you can use your hands. These are meridian energetic points. You also have them on your feet. So grounding barefoot, that cycles that energy out, and it provides you to clear those chakra systems, or at least anything that is stagnant within your body. Same, like say you have a chart that has like a lot of earth, it will do the opposite, a lot of earth and no air. Well, to get anything started with you in action, you need to move your body. There's no other way. How do you create a spark? You have to move it. So adding a walk or a salt bath, something with Epsom salts, taking a warm shower, hydrating, add electrolytes or a higher pH level balance, something that's going to sustain and rehydrate you at the same exact time. You want something, not Dasani water that has added salt and minerals to make you, love it more, I guess. Nobody drinks it. But anyway, you also want to start looking into a little bit of breath work. You want to slow your body down. That creates your nervous system thinking, or at least trying to switch it into thinking that it's safe. If you talk slower, or you move slower, or you do things with slower intentions, your body will just naturally start going into a safer mode. Reducing caffeine, obviously, switching from like a regular coffee into like a mushroom coffee, something with lion's mane, that's going to keep your memory yourself very focused, or cordyceps in that. Less doom scrolling, because the media is going to absolutely count on you doom scrolling, seeing what's going on, especially as they have more catastrophic headlines or news catching headlines that are they're pushing out specifically on purpose. And yet again, they use those cycles as well. The media uses those cycles in order to get a hold of you and push you through an energetic agenda. Remember that they know about the energy waves. They know about all of this. So they are manipulating you. Don't think they're not. So a lot of different things that you can do, but you really just want to get your body moving, start journaling, start looking into what your dreams are telling you, what your body is feeling. You really want to stay more in the present moment. That's what this whole process is about, is staying in the present. Don't get freaked out or carried away with what is coming. Don't get torn away by what has happened. We see what has happened. We know what's coming, but nobody's stabilized. So we have to stabilize. We need to be the foundation for other people that don't understand what's going on. So yet again, layers on top of all of this, but really, you really need to decrease that spiking level that's invisible to you. But the best way is to take time for yourself. Honestly, this gives you time to kind of pamper yourself too, if you think about it. Like, ooh, I want to go on a nature walk. Ooh, I want to take an Epsom salt bath. Ooh, I want to drink some really nice fancy water. Why not? So it's a blessing in disguise to slow yourself down. I take advantage of it.
No, that's good advice, and I I love how you like to talk about disclosure, and disclosure is multifaceted.
Mhm.
And so everyone thinks, oh, because we say the word disclosure, we're going to say UFOs and aliens are going to come on this date, and that's the disclosure. It's like, and you remind us that no, disclosure can come in the forms of, and I love when you go on your TikTok and go, here are dates to watch out for and
Yeah.
focus on, because it's like, yeah, that's disclosure too. And so thank you for that.
Well, of course, I have to tell somebody. If I know it's coming, it's like, do you guys see it? Do you know it's coming? Do you feel it? Because it's like it's there, like the Cardi B, like, do you see? And it's honestly, it's day by day. I know you see it too I know we all see it day by day, the media headlines, and like knowing my background and knowing how corrupt the whole system is, like it almost drains my energy seeing the games, the twisted games that they play. You can hear it in the music that they're playing in the background to hook you in, the colors that they're presenting to you. It's very meticulous what they do in the media. It's very interesting. But disclosure is going to come with discernment. uh some people, like you said, they imagine like one event that's happening, like a press conference or a big document drop or something. I don't know what it is, like something. They're looking for something. But disclosure and how it's actually going to unfold is going to feel, like I said, I work on energy waves and feelings, and visions. But it's a pressure cooker feeling. It's a pressure cooker feeling, 100%. So it's not like one big reveal. It's a progressive widening, very, very slow, of what people can actually tolerate as real, because there's going to be an ontological shock. People are going to see what these craft look like in real life. They will see the dark secrets that are happening in Hollywood. They will see the dark web that comes onto your feed without warning anymore. Like I said, there's layers to this disclosure, and if it all came in at once, we would be toast. So here's the shift. Kind of what I noticed right now is that people are losing the trust in the packaged narratives because they see that it's all fluff. There's no answers. It's all fluff. And then when that trust really collapses, that's when people start looking for patterns instead of the same stuff that they have been fed. So disclosure isn't really just about aliens, although it's a huge part, huge part. Disclosure is really about who controls the information. It's about who benefits from what you believe, who's benefiting from that, what happens to the society when the story that they used to be told is now not a reality anymore. So you can feel that the disclosure is very active right now, because it's not just a news cycle. It's the people in it now. We're all in it together, and we're seeing that, and we're being affected by it day by day. So people are saying that, I've had experiences, I've never told any about this. They're talking about these controversial issues that they should have, kept hush hush. People are stepping out of positions of power all of a sudden. People have told them that they've, felt like a certain way since they're little. So it's also not like the most terrible thing, but it's also people like starseeds coming out of the woodwork and saying like, hey, I'm resonating with this information too. And maybe because these military officials are coming out, or we have more spiritual people coming out, hearing a little bit more. This is a recognition for a lot of people. So there's cracks in all of these stories, but there's also a light beneath those cracks that's coming out and that people are really seeing. So there's an inner pressure, definitely a feeling that reality is much bigger than what we're being told, and that's the disclosure energy. So disclosure is just widening that reality little by little. Like I said, it comes in layers. Contact is going to come in layers, because when reality widens, people really start remembering what they've already sensed. And that's the power of it. But we also have um, kind of a problem because we have AI is going to be a little bit of a misinformation sideways kind of deal that we're dealing with, and it's not a coincidence that it's coming out all at the same time. Technology rises with the things that are collapsing. Discernment is really going to be in the age of information. We're in the age of information right now, I feel like. And your platform gives people like me a voice to spread these type of uh, at least acknowledgments, or like I said, I connect the dots, so maybe I can help connect a dot. But discernment is really going to be this spiritual skill of the whole entire decade. Like if you can discern what is actually real and what is actually not real, we'll be okay. We'll be able to ground. But there's going to be a lot of people that will not be able to do that at all. So we kind of almost have to hold their hands. That's okay. That's okay.
We were there once.
Exactly. That's the thing. It's a process, like a slow process coming in waves. You're a part of the first wave too. So we have to hold these people who are in the second wave and show that, yes, these dark things happen, but in a mature way, how do we step into the next phase together and make sure it never happens again? And how do we restructure all of these systems?
Yeah, that's
Because
the
we're in a
key.
restructuring
Never
age.
happens again.
Say what?
I said that's the key. Never happens again.
Never, ever happens again. Once you remember it, let's never forget it. And that's the thing. So the AI on top of it, that's going to really be, that's going to put a foggy face on top of everybody. So discernment really is looking within. And like I said, working with energy. So say you're doom scrolling, like everybody does. You need to use your real intuition while you doom scroll. Look for the real data. Try to categorize what the misinformation is. What is the fear mongering? What is the spiritual entertainment? You know what I mean? These things are designed to hook you. But if you are scrolling and say you come across something and you have a weird feeling to it. So is this post giving you panic? Is it giving you hysteria? Maybe it's not true, because the truth doesn't really resonate with that frequency. There's truth there, but you have to dissect it. Like I said, you don't want to be dependent upon anything. You want to use your own discernment, your own research, check your own nervous system. The guidance will return to you whenever you take a pause. So stay away from that. I feel like AI is going to be really hard. I've seen some good ones. I know you've seen some good ones as well. I'm not happy about the AI. It's such a useful tool, but I see the Facebook. Whenever you look at Facebook social media posts, the AI is so rampant over on that social media platform specifically. I don't know why it's that one. I see it on other ones as well, but Facebook has got me a couple of times. These are smaller things, but I just like pattern recognition, so I'm just watching what are they trying to fool, because I'm one step ahead. I'm like waiting in the background, just watching it.
Well, thank you for that. And I have a question for you, and I'm not sure energy wise if you've ever been asked or thought about this, but as we have these eclipses and the solstices and all these events and planetary alignments and the solar weather, are they all connected and bouncing off of each other? Like, can a CME cause a planetary alignment to strike and make certain days more energetically beneficial?
Love this question. Yes, that's exactly it. But it's in. Yes, that's exactly it. So whenever we have like these astrology waves come in, and it also goes with the astronomy too. They're all different layers. Like I said, everything is layers. It's very complex. But when we have these specific planetary alignments happen, they happen at different angles. So there's like 90-degree angles, like 36-degree angles, 0-degree angles, blah, blah, blah. And whenever these strong occurrences happen, sometimes you have activator planets, like Mars is an activator planet. And then whenever we have like these different loops and alignments, sometimes these cause triggers with the sun expelling these CMEs. And we've tracked them specifically this year, 2025 into 2026 now. But when we have these planetary alignments, we're having increased solar activity. So it's a heightened awareness on a whole bunch of different amplified levels. Like I said, when we talk about astrology, this brings feelings and themes into the picture as well. So there's a bigger picture on top of all of this, and you can track this with the astrology as well. So yes, you're tracking the solar flares and the effects that it's having on your body, but you're also tracking a whole different layer on top of that of what you're experiencing in reality play out. So millionaires do not play with astrology. Billionaires play with astrology for good reason, because they know what's coming and the energetic layers that are on top of that. So like right now, we're in Mercury and Mercury retrograde in Pisces. That happened on the 26th. So a lot of people are experiencing these old memories start to resurface, or like spiritual experiences are starting to intensify, especially because we have this lunar eclipse that's coming in. So we're in a phasing out kind of transition, but we really have until March 20th. And then everything's going to spring forward a little bit more. But what we're seeing is that Pisces, it dissolves all of those boundaries and it blurs those timelines. So it was the perfect time for them to drop the UFO kind of, oh, aliens are real, right when like Saturn and Neptune are at 0 degrees in Aries and it's coming out of that Pisces fog. So everybody's like, what? Aliens are real? Because it's fuzzy. You know what I mean? But they set the structure boundary with Saturn. So they know what they're doing. I see what they're doing. So when we have this Mercury retrograde in Pisces on top of that layer, this is where that intuition is going to be met with confusion. So they're pushing weird narratives right now until March. But this Mercury is going to station there and stay there from like mid to late March. But this is like past connections will start reappearing in people's lives. This is where technology is going to start misfiring. So you're going to see glitches with AI and media companies. You're going to see psychic impressions. Those are going to start increasing. So we have, when we talk about Pisces in general, Pisces is ruled by Neptune. So during retrograde periods, this is like the illusion versus the truth, or like fantasy versus fact. That's what we're seeing in the period we're in today. You know what I mean? So spiritual insight versus like the delusion of spirituality. So like Deepak Chopra. How do you say his name? I can't even say
Deepak
his
Chopra.
Yes, that man, that gentleman. Yes, this man is like held on this pedestal and now it is crumbling. So we're seeing spiritual narratives crumble. We're also seeing that they don't want to open the UFO files because of religious reasons. So why would that be? So there we go. The illusion with the truth, the fantasy versus the fact. Why is it there? But it's crumbling and people are starting to see through it. So something feels magical and grounded. That will be a good sign. Flow with that. But if something feels very magical and destabilizing, that's going to be the hidden agenda. So you can pull yourselves out of these by like these energetic connections that you feel in your body when we go through these transitions, like today. So this retrograde really, I would say this retrograde specifically isn't really about chaos. It's really about the clarity through the review that we're getting. We're getting a reviewing period and a tiny bit of rest, especially with the sun. It's been quiet. I'm grateful for it. Although we have that one region coming back around, it was 4366. That was giving us all those X-class flares. And it didn't produce a geomagnetic storm or actually anything really from it. So it was really surprising. But right now, I mean, we even had a 2-day period where we had no sunspots on the sun, but we had a large coronal hole. So that was interesting. So yes, solar flares, astrology layers, all packed on top of each other. What we're experiencing now, major headlines are changing in 2026. It's all going to start making sense once you use that superpower of discernment. But yeah, I feel like we're in a shuffle right now. I don't know about you, but I'm feeling that shuffle.
Oh, I am. And what I find interesting is like, I always will joke that weathermen being the perfect job because you can be wrong 90% of the time and still keep your job. And I wonder, when you're studying the space weather and all the energy effects and everything that's going on with the days and the alignments, how actually precise and accurate is it versus like, can we say, oh, there's going to be a CME on Tuesday? Well, actually, no, it got pushed back to Wednesday. Does that actually happen, or is the sun on a more steady schedule than we are?
Well, the sun's energy is unpredictable. It's unpredictable and is one of the hardest things that you can accurately, describe or monitor at all, because it's something we have zero control over, like, period. It's actually number one on the national disaster list is space weather, solar activity, before like earthquakes and tornadoes and wildfires and like destruction, big destruction. Yeah, it's space weather. I looked that one up. I thought that was interesting, but that's true because we have a lot of outer dynamics that are involved in space weather and tracking it. We have different models that we have to use. Sometimes they're not up to date, depending on what NASA is allowed to show us or not. But there's ways around that. But the thing is like, okay, say you have a CME or a bulk of plasma eject from the sun. Sometimes this comes in fast shooting waves. Sometimes this comes in partial halo formations. Sometimes these are whole halo formations. And then they, like I said, they run on these energetic current lines that are directly connected to different planets. We follow these on the Parker spiral. That's another model that we use, so we can see where plasma is headed, if we're going to have a tailwind of it or if not. And along with this is that sometimes these CMEs hold more density, so more plasma is ejected out. So the density could have bigger effects or heavier effects, or sometimes it takes longer to come into Earth than what is predicted. Usually it's between like 48 to 72 hours, but I've seen it come in within 24 hours, and it's within like a moment notice. The next day we had auroras, so it's coming faster and quicker. Sometimes this has higher velocity. They shoot out really, really quickly. So like I said, we get them within 24 hours. That was unheard of. Nobody reported on that one either. I was like, what? I've never seen this happen. And that's a problem. That's a problem. That means the magnetic field is just wide open. So I see like, it's very hard to predict. But I mean, from what I've seen for the past couple of years, 24 to 72 hours now. So, but it really does depend. Each solar flare is very different. So some of them don't even come out. Some of them are just higher photonic light, and they just produce radio blackouts all on their own, just on the flare itself. So we have some big things that are happening, and our power grid cannot be sustainable. Especially, our Texas power grid. That's our main power in Texas. And then we have substations along the East Coast, but we cannot sustain that. It would cost like a couple million to be able to restructure the whole grid for the entire United States, but they're not doing that, and they're not doing that for a reason. And I question that reason, because if you have all of this money to spend, why wouldn't you spend it on stabilizing something that is going to go out? I don't know, but they cause real effects in our present reality. Space weather in general, something nobody's talking about. It'll shut off your computer. It'll shut off your GPS. What if you're driving in the middle of nowhere and your GPS is gone and everybody else's GPS is gone? Oh, by the way, your car shut down. Now what? Do you got a map? Oh, I don't. So what are we going to do? So these are real life things that are happening.
Yeah. I actually do have a map still.
Good.
Laminated too.
Just
so
in
I can
case.
draw.
It's very, very real. It's very, very real. And they'll shut down airports. They'll lower aircraft so they can only go so far, because the radiation of them flying at higher altitudes is increased. It makes people sick. It makes the pilots themselves sick. So it's very, very real. We should talk about it. Oh, wait, we're talking about it.
I have a interesting theoretical question for you.
Of
We're
course.
we're talking about like these flares and the solar winds being energy frequencies and energy waves. And I know from personal experience here, like if I stand in by a fire and I'm like, I don't want the smoke, I can use energy to create a little barrier so the smoke goes around me, it doesn't hit me. Can that work on the space weather side, that the people can sit there and like go, hey, we're gonna put a shield around the planet so you'll
Oh, I
bounce
see what you're
off?
saying.
Or is it, enough people can say, hey, we're gonna put a protective field and bounce the energy? Or is the sun's energy just so much so that the most we would do is, like, instead of a category like X, like you were saying, we made it a M, just diminished it a little?
Something smaller. So you're saying, can we put or can they put energetic barriers upon themselves to protect themselves from the sun's radiation? Is that what you're
Can we,
saying?
as like people, being energy ourselves, can we put up energy shields to protect
Oh,
our areas
yes.
and ourselves from these impacts?
Yes, that's it. Well, here, you ask a very complex question. I think you know that. I think you know that. How do we answer this correctly with all these things? Okay, so yes, you can. And that's what we're doing. As grid workers or people who can hold energy frequencies, we can stabilize the planet, but we can only do it for so long. Lineages hold it down for us, so it can be kind of a permanent deal. But what happens is that there's this false light matrix that is created over, I know this sounds crazy, it's created over Earth. It goes in these different patterns, and that is kind of what is dissolving. So the sun's light codes can penetrate through layers, different layers, but it goes through there's like this energetic boundary point that we go through in the photon belt, which is also kind of what we're going through our solar system in general in this sector of the galaxy. So it's higher photonic light that comes in, plus the sun's solar maximum coming in, so extra solar activity on top of all of that. So it diminishes this false light matrix that these extra or interdimensional races put on the planet. And when that happens, yet again, that cosmic energy comes in. Sometimes that's too hard to handle. So, what we have to do as human incarnates that are energy frequency carriers, holders, we create a frequency grid that can stabilize the positions alongside interdimensional beings that are also helping stabilize the poles. Because when the solar maximum happens, what happens with the sun is that its magnetic poles they shift. And when that happens, our magnetic poles start to shift. So if we can stabilize all of this together, then we won't have as catastrophic occurrences on the planet, because it's happened in the past where the poles have flipped and everything was gone. This was the floods with Noah, the mud, everything was gone. So, and that's kind of why they're here now, is we're trying to stabilize it so it doesn't happen again. So yet again, it's waking everybody up, getting them on these frequencies, whether they know it or not, doesn't really matter. We're stationed all over the place for a reason, to stabilize across the globe. I know that sounds crazy, but I know you asked that for a reason.
Oh, I did, because my next question is that why the star seeds
Yeah.
are waking up and being so many versus in the past being like one maybe on the west coast, one on the east coast? Now it's like, oh, there's like 400 on the west coast
Yep.
and 600 on the east coast. Now it's like,
Listen.
did they wake up and activate and arrived because they knew this was coming, and so to create a barrier.
Right. And a lot of people, they don't even know that they're these souls. They're just doing the work on their own without even knowing it at all. So, like I said, when we go through these photon belts with higher photonic light that comes in, more of these solar data codes come and integrate through brainwave patterns, through your body rhythms, and it's just a natural occurring waking up process whenever you do it to a planet specifically. So it's supposed to be, like I said, in waves, so it's tolerable, it's more digestible for everybody. But yeah, we're waking up little by little in order to stabilize. But there's these processes that happen, and the ones who have the higher dimensional souls are the ones that wake up because we already have more of the light coming in. So we're like, oh yeah, there it is. And it's just a very familiar feeling. And they start researching and looking for a community or a reason why they're feeling the ways that they're feeling. And then we all just kind of come together. And the faster we all come together, the quicker we can get this over with. But I don't know. It seems like a very slow process. There's still the second wave that has to get over a lot of the shock. They're still digging in the deep, dark rabbit holes. The third wave doesn't really know what's going on. I see they want to fight still. They'll come next year, but we're working with the second waves right now and stabilizing them because we don't want them to burn everything to the ground. That would be counteract. I just hope we don't.
Counterproductive.
I know. I see a lot of them doing it though, and it's unfortunate. It's like I want to say don't do it, but I see them doing it anyway. Ugh.
Right. And one question I have for you, since you watch the skies a lot and everything, is what would you interpret if, for example, I can go out pretty much any month and I will see Orion in the sky, clear as day. And I'm like, and I know Orion is not always stationary, that it moves around. So how is it that I can go out monthly and see Orion full bore in the sky center?
With Orion. Well, Orion is like a mutable and cardinal sign. So it's not a fixed sign. So it does move around, but we all move around Polaris. Polaris is like the main point. So like whenever you die, you're going to go through Polaris because that goes straight to source. But around that, we have different layers. This is when you go into like more astronomy. So there's like layers upon layers, and this is where you get into like the archetypes and where you're going to get into different dimensional origins, but it's not like mainstream known yet. So it's interesting that you're asking that question. I love that you are because that's what it is. That's how the dimensional origin. So it goes into like these constellations. They come down in layers and we don't have access to them. But Orion is a mutable cardinal sign. So like the fixed signs, that's like Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, Aquarius, they're always going to be there in the sky at a certain horizontal point. But we do move around and our axis changes. So when our axis changes, we experience the fixed signs where they're supposed to be, but then we have like these mutable cardinal signs that are just like moving around. But it's very complicated. You ask very complicated questions, but I love that you ask them. But yeah, it's more of like, did you ask about Orion specifically? Why? I kind of want to know why.
Well, I have connection to Orion
Okay.
as starseed, but it's the one that I recognize when I look up. I'm like, there's the bow, there's the belt, or I'll be like, there's Orion's belt, there's Orion, and I'm like, I don't think Orion's supposed to be in the sky visible right now, but there he is. And
where are you located? I'm on like the PA Ohio border. So
I am in Texas near the Oklahoma border.
Okay, so you're a little bit more. So if you look outside today, and like north is behind me. So if you're looking more towards the south and look up, Orion's going to be up towards that way. He's gonna be very visible in the sky, almost not 100% directly above you, but you will be able to see him visibly in the sky tonight. Because I saw him today too, and I was like, oh, there he is. Because it's funny, for some reason you were talking and you said Orion, and I got this pull to talk about Orion for you. I don't know what's in Orion. I know Mintaka is in Orion, and that's where one of my past lives was. Do you have past lives?
The Orion Wars.
Okay, see, is this why we're connecting? That's so interesting. Yeah. Orion is really often associated with like polarity lessons. So like traits with like deep shadow work, people who are very analytical thinkers, people who are truth seekers, you know what I mean? So now again, these are like those archetypes that I was talking about. These are archetypal frameworks, energetic like frequency layers on top of that. So where your soul resonates with these different locations is often, that's a past life synchronicity. You're looking at it for a reason, you're feeling different for a reason, or you have like this strong pull to these places. But each star seed identity is spread so far across that they all have different traits that are associated with them. Like you said, the Orion Wars, it was absolutely crucial for them to leave the planetary systems in the higher dimensional, like the higher what is this, higher area of the Orion constellation, because below the belt, that's where like the reptilians are, some insectoid races, and then a lot of the gray races as well. And then they were taking over where the belts were at. So Mintaka is that ending belt line. If you're looking from left to the right, it's the furthest one on the right. And that planet was taken over. That was one of the water planets. And then you have in the higher constellation of Orion, that's where like there's a melting pot, like a big melting pot of different species and races over there. But they're higher dimensional, they are part of the Federation as well. And so the Orion Wars was absolutely devastating to the whole constellation itself. Millions of different species and races perished. Planets were exploded. There was refugees that had to take refuge in different constellations like the Pleiades and Sirius. Some passed away, and they didn't go back to those constellations at all. They went further. But when we talk about different star seeds, there's different perspectives, different energetic layers that are on top of that. I just thought it was really interesting that you were talking about Orion.
Well, if you think that's interesting, you're going to really love this next question then. The moon. Now that it's visible in the day, because I remember it not being ever visible in the day growing up. But I can go out and like yesterday saw the moon. Today, no moon. Tomorrow may not be a moon.
I saw the moon today and yesterday. It's up there.
That's what's always is like interesting me now, and why I think a lot of times like it's an artificial construct up there, because how can it be visible one day in the sky and then not visible the next day, visible, maybe not visible for 2 days, and then visible? It's like random when it shows up.
Well, I haven't seen that, but I have heard it, and I have seen it a lot on other people's videos where they're experiencing this. Now, it doesn't happen in my reality, but that doesn't mean that it's not happening in other people's realities. We're not on all of the same timeline. So people could be experiencing these things a lot differently than when I'm experiencing them. So I'm not saying anybody is crazy or wrong, because you're right. The moon, there is holographic moon technology, but the moon is also very real, and it has very real races that are on there with different agendas, including us. We have a base there. We've had a base there. But with the moon, that's an interesting question because that's something I've been thinking about and pondering is the dimensional reality or the timeline reality of everything, different perspectives. Why are people seeing it and recording it and we're not seeing it over here? Like you said, you didn't see the moon, but I saw the moon today. I saw it during this the daytime too. Um, and you're right. I don't remember ever seeing the moon during the daytime when I was a kid. I can honestly say that, like at all. I don't remember the northern lights, and I don't remember the moon during the
Right.
day.
Yeah, we were taught the moon is the night sky, the sun is the day sky,
Right.
and the two never mix. And now you have the sun and the moon both at the same time.
Well, I mean, when we go into layers also, again, this goes with like astronomy too. Um, when you're dealing with accesses and ecliptic, like the ecliptic planes, so you can have the moon and the sun at the same exact time, seeing it in the sky. But I don't think that everything that we see in the sky is real. You know what I mean? Because there are
Right.
sun simulator technologies that are patented, and they were experimenting on that. So could we be seeing false suns, false moons? I feel like we absolutely could because they wouldn't have invented it and patented the technology if they weren't using it and then hitting it on a black project budget, you know? So we have to question these things. And I'm glad that you're questioning these things because it's very real and we have to stop like pretending that it doesn't exist and that they're not using it. Like why is it still being funded? Let's talk about that. If it's not real, why are we still funding the projects, everybody?
Exactly.
So I'm seeing it. Yeah, the moon's a really interesting topic. I feel like they're gonna when will they talk about the moon? That's gonna be an interesting one. I don't know. I feel like they're whenever they do the UFO disclosure topics, I feel like they're gonna produce redacted files at first, but there's going to be glimpses of alien bodies. I think there's going to be glimpses at high definition um, video footage in photos of UFOs themselves in different spacecraft so they can widen their minds. But I also think it's going to be a big shock. So I feel like UFO disclosure is going to be more about the craft at first and then the aliens. But when are they going to talk about all the hidden things that they did? Like with the secret space mission and, you know, the moon landing and the reptilian ships. And then when are they going to talk about what happened during World War II and the Mars base and the Dark Fleet? And when are they going to talk about Ganymede and, you know, what's on Saturn? And let's talk about what's on Jupiter. And let's talk about the Venusians there on Venus. And let's talk about Meldeck. Like, when are we going to start the ball rolling on the whole thing? Because this is a big, big ball of of everything that they've hidden for
Yeah.
thousands of years, thousands of years.
It
So I
is.
feel like the
And
moon is going to be a big topic because it's active. We see it all the time. And when will they introduce that? I'm
well, and
excited.
what surprised me is some indigenous cultures have legends of the moon being placed in the sky. So
Yeah.
they were there before there was a moon. And I thought that's interesting. So I went to look. The Zulus in Africa have stories of they were around before the moon existed in the
Oh,
sky. The Greeks have a whole cultural name for cultures that were around in the Greek area of, with no moon. And I was like looking at this and going, okay, and the pre Columbians talk about no moon in the sky while they were in existence, that it came later. And I was like, wait a minute. We have pre Columbians, so we'll say South America, indigenous tribes, North America. Maybe they talked. But then how do you explain Africa and the Mediterranean?
right.
Because those four are, we're told, never met. but yet they all share stories of pre-lunar civilizations. So I was like, the moon was not what we were told in school, being a piece of the earth that broke off and has been floating around us. And then I remember, I don't know if you
You're right.
remember, when they shot a rocket at it and it rang like a bell.
Oh yeah, that too. Yeah, there's so many things with the moon, but the moon is not a well, okay. Here's what's happening with the moon. So you're right. The moon was towed. It was towed in by another moon. You already saw the paintings. There's two moons. You know what I mean? That's one of them bringing them in. They put it in like this tidal lock position in order to terraform certain planets early in life, and then whenever they're going through transitional phases, they'll bring them back in. So they knew that we were going through transitional phases at that time. Plus, there was also different agendas at play. I think you know about the agendas, the different
Right.
DNA programs that they were playing with, but they monitor species that are developing and they bring these new constructs in. I mean, it's not almost every planet has them. Ours is just bigger, and they put it there for a reason. They know it's influential. They know that it deals with different tidal poles. They designed it that way. Usually, biospheres are made like by Octurians for the most part. They have like the best advanced like technology, and they create biospheres. So usually they'll take it from like different sectors, and then they'll have it on different planets, and then they'll station it around until they need it at a certain location. So they just brought it over to Earth, and they decided, hey, we need to monitor them now, or hey, we're doing this other agenda as well behind the scenes, and they're not telling anybody. The moon is very, very strategically placed there.
Yeah,
Yes.
and I had a guest who had a book, and I forget the name of the book. It started with the T, and they were saying that yes, the moon was towed in, but it's eventually going to crash into the earth, that it's on a degradation cycle. And I was like, I don't know that I actually,
Never do that. That would be a waste
you
of
know,
technology.
picture the moon getting closer and hitting us.
Oh, like the movie Moonfall?
Well, it could be like that. And then I look at where they show we're not in a circular orbit, we're actually in a spiral chasing the sun. I've seen that
That's
image.
interesting. I've seen that.
What do you think about that with with all that you do? Do you feel like that's more accurate, or
I think that's more accurate because we are in this spiral developing, because that's just the framework of source. It goes in a spiral. That's just the natural occurrence. It goes into these geometry shapes. So us going around the sun or going in these, they go in cycles, like I said. So there's just this natural formation of us going around a lot of different things. But there's also dark matter and stuff that has different influences too. So it's just very broad topic. I was like, I should have dissected this a lot more. So many
I don't
layers.
know. Well, and the one thing that caught my attention about space when I was a kid was I looked up one day and there was this like bluish line across the sky and the horizon, and someone goes, "Do you know what that is?" And I said, "No." They go, "That's the Milky Way."
Oh yeah. Isn't
And
that
I was like, in my mind, I go, "That can't be the Milky Way because it's a straight line across the sky."
uh-huh.
Science tells us if we're in something, you can see it to the left, you can see it to the right, but it cannot be a continuous line. So if we saw the Milky Way as a continuous line, do we leave the Milky Way?
We're on the we're kind of towards the outskirts, which is why we're more isolated and why we were able to be taken over more easily in this sector of the galaxy, because we were alone. There's There's planets here that are terraformed in this sector, but not as many as the other clusters going towards source. Those are higher dimensions. There's more there. So to come out into the density of the 3D place that we're at, we have to be so far out. But what you're seeing, like the Milky Way, yeah, it's everything's a spiral. But what you don't see the whole thing. So it's like what you see in the sky, it's like half a bend, but it still goes all like it's a circle or a cycle, galaxy spiral.
Okay, because my mind was like, yeah, this is the entire length of the Milky Way galaxy.
Oh,
There's no
not the whole
way I
thing.
could be seeing it in its
Yeah,
entirety because we're
no.
supposed to be in it.
That's just like a tiny, like you see a tiny arm, like a tiny arm of it. It's huge, and it's infinite. Um, and it just goes on. It's so expansive, but I love the feeling of it. Like whenever I don't know, whenever I feel like when I talk, I feel energies. So
Right.
when we talk about the expansiveness of space, and then just where everything is located, like there's just these little energy pockets that happen. And then with the dark matter as well, these are what your human eye perception cannot see. So it's dark, that's all. But it's actually like it's colors you haven't seen, brighter, higher dimensional. And we move around these sectors too. So they have little energetic bubbles around them that protect certain areas. But our sector of the galaxy, like I said, we're on that outer skirts of the arm. So we were left alone for a little too long. And they came back and they said, oh no, what happened to our experiment? Should we toast them or should we let them ride it out? And they're letting us ride it out. But they're going to help us. They're going to help us, but they're going to let us ride it out.
Yeah, and
You're going to help. I'm going to help.
so where do you see in 2026, with it being the year of the fire horse, and obviously more sun activity, which I'm kind of wondering if there's a coincidental connection there,
Yeah.
being that we're in a fire horse year and there's more activity on the sun. But is that going to impact like all the galactic star nations out there and their abilities to come here and interact with us? Is it going to make it easier, harder? What
It
do you
makes
see for
it easier for
2026?
them. Yeah. Because more light comes in, it's easier for them to have not only the ships come in, but be here with their physical bodies. Because when you go to a lower dimension, you have to constrict your body and conform to the laws of that planet that you're entering. And it does not feel so good. So, so they don't really like to come to Earth. They have special suits that they wear and all of that fun stuff. But because of the higher photons that are coming in, they are now able to integrate a little bit better, and we can interact with them a little bit longer. But here's the thing is that and this is the fun part, because we go through these barriers, there's layers to this, so it affects also their ships, and they're able to be more easily seen in the skies, because it messes with the tech of it. um, so that's going to be really interesting in 2027. So like the tech malfunction. So say you have a rainbow ship that is uh, trying to hide itself as a cloud. Well, you're going to see it as a rainbow ship and not a cloud anymore. That's what I mean. So it's they're doing this on purpose. They know that this is happening. It's really exciting for them as well to be a part of this as much as we want to be a part of it as well. So they're coming here with really good intentions, but they're giving us room to breathe and to be able to take those baby steps on our own. because we ultimately have to give them the okay to move forward and make contact. But yet again, this is going to go in cycles. And 2026 is really an interesting year. 2026 itself. So we have that Saturn moving into new signs, the institution pressure, Uranus shifting signs, technology. There's going to be rebellion spikes because of this. There's going to be Pluto. Pluto moves through like power centered signs in 2026. So this is like corruption is going to surface. Yeah, 2026 is not random chaos. This is absolutely a structured recalibration. They're counting on this. They want people to see that the governments have issues. There's transparency issues there. Obviously, they're fighting amongst each other because they're bummed that they weren't in the know. You know what I mean? There's financial restructuring that's happening at the same time. Technology and AI acceleration. There's going to be disclosure narrative shifts that are going to happen. Whistleblowers are going to start coming out a little bit more. They're going to be given the stage. They're going to pretty much push the military whistleblowers first because they still want to miss a military presence. They're using that theme. But there's also this religion paradigm that's going to be shifting, and that's why they're having a hard time disclosing the UFO files, or so they say, because of religion factors, because people are going to, ask the question, where are they from? Who are we? I thought we were alone. Who am I? Why am I here? Who's God? They're going to start asking these big, big questions. So religion is going to start shifting little by little. Not saying we're going to get into the whole shebang in 2026, but small details enough for them to palate it, I would say. 2026 is going to feel like you cannot live that old version of yourself anymore, and it's just bursting out and you're done with it. So people are going to leave their careers. Their identity is going to change. There's going to be boundaries that they're going to put in place because they're done with a lot of stuff. They're going to leave outdated systems. So they're not going to choose the same media outlets like CNN and Fox because they've been lying to them, and people are sick of it. So they're looking for people that they can trust energetically, whether they know it or not. They're looking for a frequency that they can tune into that is the truth, and that they feel safe, because their whole structure is going to fall and they need a safety net. Like I said, you got to find a safety net to harness that nervous system. So there's going to be parallel structures that are going to be building at the same time with that foundation, which would be like you and me. So it's really not a collapse. It's a lot of pressure. It's a lot of evolutionary pressure to change. And I feel like that fire horse energy is pushing us in, that we have really big planetary alignments that are going to be happening in July, end of June, going into July. And then our nodals are going to change at the end of July, Aquarius and Leo. So there's going to be big switchbacks around that time as well. So we're in a very active cosmic window this whole entire year, from late February into early March. This is going to be a period, like I said, about recalibration. So we're in that reviewing phase. That lunar eclipse is going to kind of take everything that we saw, like the UFO and the Epstein files and all of that, and it's going to transition it into a different phase. So we collapsed it out. We saw what's happening. We acknowledged it. Okay, cool. Now what do we do with it? Let's think of this on the back burner. And then spring forward, momentum's going to start going really, really fast for the entire next rest of the year. So emotional releases and shifts in both individuals and collectives, all on their own. So I see 2026 being pretty intense. It feels pretty intense. It's only February. Wait, is it end of February?
Yeah. And you bring up an interesting point that they're able to, with the energies right now, photonically be able to be here and a little easier. And I can't help wondering if we are raising our energies and, more people are raising their energy. Obviously, the energy of the planet's going to go up. Hence, the Schumann is going to normalize at a new level. Is that something that you think is, we are in fact raising the Schumann resonance, and that's why it's off the scale so much? Is so many people waking up and tuning into their energy and learning how to utilize it and exist in it? Or is the energy going to spike up and then slam back down, and we're all going to be like, oh my god, how am I can't move because the energy is so low from where I was and I'm feeling so dense now?
Well, I think it's going to shift. I don't think it's going to be one thing. I think it's going to be fluctuating the entirety of our life, until it stabilizes at a new frequency later down the line. I don't see that stabilizing until after like we pass away. I feel like there's different energy currencies that are going to happen after we pass away. Whatever those may be, I don't have access to them because they say I'm not going to be here. Okay, but they said it'll be fine. But you're right. We are upgrading our frequencies as well, and as we continuously do that, a lot of us are tapping into that DNA. And when we tap into our DNA, unbeknownst to us, we are tapping into telepathic communication. And this is going to be one of those contact occurrences. So, upgrading our frequencies when we do it correctly in a conscious manner, in a mature manner, where we're set on more of a love, equality, oneness kind of frequency, is when we'll be able to have this one on one interaction with interdimensional beings, because they want you to get to a certain frequency level so you can do that. The quicker we get there, the quicker this can happen and we can have this contact experience. And then they're going to bring in more of like their technology, their cultural ways. But I don't think we're at an appropriate position as a planet to bring in other civilizations from other worlds and say, hey, we're humans, aren't we great? When we can't get them, you know, um, we can't get along with each other. I mean, we can, but we're just overpowered. It's not really us. Oh my gosh, it's almost embarrassing.
Yeah. We,
Like,
we put too many people on pedestals and say, oh, look, they're better than me. I'm going to follow that person and just do what they did instead of thinking for ourselves.
yeah. Yeah. Well, we also do have to stay sovereign as well. Sovereignty is a really key in trusting who you are and trusting your instincts and your value as well. So it's different. It's a different process for everybody that is going through it. Not everybody has had the same upbringings or the same traumas. Um, uh, they're different motives that come through at different times in order to spark specific frequencies at specific times. That sounds so vague, but I feel like it's so precision. Like they're showing me when I say these things, they show me in layers of how it works. And I'm like, what? I
It
don't
does. It does, though.
I know it's like they're just these layers, but they're layers upon layers. And it's just so massive that like one person like me can't explain it all. It's all of us together that have to explain the whole story because it's too much. It's too much. Human brain's only like this big.
I
That's
know.
what it feels like diving into these topics, You're very well versed. You know what's going on.
I do. And yeah, and that's one of the things I love about watching your videos is it's like I know what's going on, but I can't put it into words. And I watch your videos, and I'm like, there, she just shared it.
I
I'll
tried.
just share that one out because she said it better than I did.
Oh, I appreciate that. Sometimes my words do not come out right at all. I'm very more like I always say this, English is not my first language. Telepathy is my first language. It takes so much time, effort, and energy to move your jaw and make sounds and then create meaning of something very complex that barely anybody on earth knows, and put it into like the human consumption form. It's very, very difficult. I try my best. I mean, I passed public speaking. I swear I did. But sometimes like I said, you have to ground me. I will go, wee.
Oh, no worries. I'll go with for a while.
I know you. You'll send me there first, though. That's funny.
I'll be like, what took you so long?
I know. Too much.
We're actually getting close to an hour and a half. And
Oh,
so
good conversation.
it's been a lot of fun. And I want to ask real quick before we go, since you put out these like pay attention to dates and stuff that's going on, is there anything in March that you feel like
March.
now would be a good time to say, hey, here's a heads up, think ahead, plan ahead?
Yes. Yeah, because we're in a recalibration moment. So what's happening right now? Actually, we just had Mercury retrograde go happen in Pisces. So I told you about the technology that's happening, the illusions versus the truth and all of that fun stuff. Well, tomorrow we have something fun going on as well. We do have a planet parade that's happening. Now, this is like Mercury, Venus, this is Saturn, Jupiter, Uranus, Neptune. They'll all be visible in the night sky. They're going to line up along the ecliptic. But they're not all at the same degree. So it's not like the most significant planet parade that we have had, but there are energetic themes that go along with this. Like Mercury is about like reviewing and reflecting. Venus is about like your finances, relationships. So yet again, refining these type of things. Saturn's about that responsibility, that structure. Jupiter is about expanding your belief system beyond what you thought it would be. So I'm seeing like there's a strong sense that humanity is just standing at a threshold right now, and they are in a review period before they're allowed to go into the next step. So after this planetary parade, we're going to jump into this March energy. And March energy is a lot lighter than a lot of the other months. So I am going to welcome March. I really am. But the days leading up to this eclipse, which is on Tuesday, on the 3rd, you're going to feel this emotional pressure build up. So this is not going to be the most fun time. Because people are often going to feel very restless. They're going to feel very introspective or nostalgic. There's going to be emotional sensitivity that is coming out. They're going to feel more intuitive. And then when we go into that blood moon lunar eclipse, that's going to be in Virgo. So Virgo is really about like your daily routines and like work and organizing and mental clarity and like your physical well-being. So this is going to be a very supercharged full moon. Full moons already bring in cultivation and emotional illumination. So this is going to become more of a ending cycle from what that solar eclipse brought in, which was the epiphiles and the UFO disclosure. So this is going to close all of the emotions that were in that window and set what we're doing for the next schedule. So that Virgo moon is organizing. Okay, we're marking the end of this. Now we're going to organize what's coming up next, and we're going to do it in a sustainable way. But we're going to have this strong urge to declutter. So people are going to want to go and comb through the files. It makes sense. So it's like reorganizing things in order to make room for something that's going to be beneficial coming through. So people are going to have body sensitivity during the lunar eclipse. Yet again, supercharged full moon that's going to have a tidal effect on not only the waters but on your body itself. So your body's going to feel really tired, or you're going to feel emotionally fatigued. Then kind of through after that lunar eclipse happens, we're going to have a nice little lull period, which always makes me question if space weather or solar activity is going to be active during that time. Sometimes we have it very heightened during astrological periods. Sometimes we don't. Sometimes in those lull periods is when we get a burst of solar activity. So sometimes I feel like they want your body to rest during periods. Sometimes I feel like they want your body to be more active, or your mind more active. So more solar flares mean more active minds. So I feel like definitely not a time to rush any type of decision, especially with that Mercury retrograde going on. First 2 weeks of March into April are really about integration. uh, Time to observe everything and shift internally, because we're not ready to take a jump yet. I know some people are like really, really ramped up and they really want to do that. They say, now's the time, I'm sick of this. Wait for a second, because that's going to blow over. If we react now, it's not going to be as monumental as if we were rebuilding and realigning and had all our shit together, So wait for a second, reflect, realign, release all of that stuff, and then we're going to rebuild, because we have some big triggers that need to be released individually, collectively, of what's going on. And then in the coming weeks, it's about restructuring that process again, being emotionally more introspective, opening yourself up, because we will ultimately be faced with crossroads again. But if you're feeling any of those type of things, that just means that you're in sync with what's going on with the energy in the sky right now. So this is really more about a period of listening rather than forcing, um, observing rather than like reacting right now would be beneficial, or like releasing. You don't want to suppress or cling to anything. You really want to release it. And the more you stay grounded, the clearer the guidance will become, I would say. So I feel like that's what's going on in March. Like probably the more low key month. Fingers crossed. Maybe.
Well, thank you. And real quick before we go, where can people follow you?
Oh, yeah. So you can go either to my TikTok, my Instagram. I have a YouTube, a Facebook. I have a Threads, sarahstarrofficial.com. That's SarahStarr. I can't even spell my name. Sarah Starr Official. Or you can go to my website, sarahstarrofficial.com. I do natal chart readings. I do starseed origin readings. So it's like I look at a close version of who you are, your energetic signature, what your karma is. If I look into your origins, I look into your primary, your secondary. I look into timeline activations that are coming up. Just trying to recalibrate people, trying to find them on the right path. It looks like everybody is looking for who they are in this moment, because everything is changing right now. So if you have been feeling that, you are not alone. If your nervous system is loud, stabilize it. And if you need guidance, head over to my website, sarahstarrofficial.com, and I'll hook you up.
Very cool. And I got it on the banner.
Oh,
And before we go, I do have one message for you.
oh.
From my heart and the heart of my shows, thank you for what you're doing for humanity. It's seen, heard, and felt, so thank you.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Nobody's thanked me before. Thank you for thanking me. Oh, thank you. I appreciate
And
it.
thank you for this collaboration and really all that you do, because you are like a bright light in everything that's going on. And
Oh,
there are times that I'll be sitting there going, what in the world? And then I'll come across your page and I'm like, oh, I feel so much better now. Even though I
feeling.
didn't fully listen, I'll be honest, I probably listened to half of something because it gets a little over my head, but I'm like, okay, I feel better. I feel
Good.
I have a handle on it now, so I'm in a better space. So thank you for doing that.
No, that's the whole reason why I'm here. I want to people to feel safe and feel grounded and understand what's going on, because there's not many people in the world that are talking about this right now. And if I have the platform to do it, and I have the skills to do it, and the knowledge to do it, and the communication to do it, I guess I'm supposed to. So I'm just going to keep going. That's the job. That's the mission. Keep going.
And hopefully we'll have you back on again, because you have so much to share. We barely hit the tip of the iceberg with all that you have.
There's a lot to talk about. You know it. There's so much. Can't just be me. It's you too. You have good questions. You have great questions.
Well, thank you.
Of course.
And so with that, we are going to say goodnight to everybody. Have a wonderful weekend. Enjoy the last 2 nights of February.
Yep.
God, can you believe it's only 2 nights left?
I know. We only have 4 weeks in February. It blew my mind. I figured that out a couple of days ago. I said I'm running out of numbers to cross off. Oh wait, there's only 4 weeks. I literally lost time. I'm not gonna lie. I totally lost time, like a whole week and a half. I don't know where it went or what. I don't know. I'm gone.
What I think will be the hardest thing for people is when February goes from 28 or 29 days to its original 30 days.
I know.
People will be like, "Hey,
walk.
We have an extra day. How did we get this? This is not fair."
I know. I wonder when they'll fix the calendars. I know. I was asking that. I was asking that a couple days ago. When, not in our lifetime, I don't think they're going to fix the calendars. But I wonder when they will switch them back. I wonder.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And somebody said the lunar is a 12-month calendar, and I was like, there was a 13th month calendar. What happened to the 13 month? And like, oh no, it'll be 12 months, 30 days. It equals out to the exact number for our year. And I'm like, really? So we never needed that 13th month? That doesn't seem right.
It would all be a solid block, and everything would work out numerically, but there's also hidden layers when we talk about switching the calendars and the energies. And that would be a whole different topic to talk about. But we can go there too.
There you go. Show 2.
Yeah, that's a good topic. That is.
Well, thank you again for this collaboration, and thank you to everybody who's watching. And please like, subscribe, and follow along. And I normally don't do this, and this is something new for me. And let me see if I can find it. They move stuff around all the time on here. Is if you like my show and you're want to support it, there is a QR code in the corner where you can donate. And I don't get paid for doing this. Sarah doesn't get paid for doing what she does. So any support you guys can give us, from liking our posts and sharing our stuff out to help with the algorithms, to donating money, all of it is greatly appreciated. You all are who makes this possible. We could sit here and talk to ourselves and it'd be fine, but you're really who we're doing this for, to help. And so just want to offer that out there for everyone. And be sure to like, follow, and subscribe Sarah as well on all of her platforms. I guarantee you will love her videos. She does very high quality videos.
Thank you. I try. I do. I attempt it. It's important. Thank you for having me on. I really appreciate you giving me a voice, and people like me a voice. We really need to collaborate again, for sure.
Yeah, so I'll be in touch with dates, and we will set something up. And with that, we are going to say good night, and we will kick off the outro. Good night, everyone.
See ya.